Okay, this dragster frame, I just thought I'd do a quick video on maybe might help somebody else and clean the frame up. Like I absolutely hate the gold paint, so it's got to come off right away because it bothers me. But regardless, I've sandblasted lots of these round type frames. They're not easy to sandblast because you've got to get all the way around the pipe and that to blast it. So if it's not real hard paint, I'll show you a couple things that I do to try and get it off without literally sanding it, because that can take a long time too. You're trying to sand through the surface. I would use paint stripper and a combination of paint thinner. Now what I'm doing right now, I don't have any paint stripper at the shop, and it's a weekend and I don't feel like going and getting any, but so I've been laying rags on there with some thinner and that's actually working pretty good. But if you take a razor blade and just scrape it, don't dig into it. So you can use just a bare blade or you can use a utility knife. I've been using just a little small blade for a lot of it. But if you scrape it and just make a bunch of different edges, it comes off. Don't gouge it, so just kind of drag away from it like that. Not to it. So you don't gouge the metal and make marks in the metal. This is all chrome moly, so I don't want to mark it up. But what I'll do is I'll scrape it like that. Then once I got it scraped up a bit, I'll take the paint thinner then and dip a rag in it like so, and then start soaking it with that. You'll see that it takes off the paint way quicker because now you got a bunch of edges to work with. It's kind of like when you're sanding, you got to sand through the base surface and it takes longer. If you make a bunch of edges for this thinner to kind of attack and soften up, it'll take this paint off way quicker. So you kind of scratch it up so you got a bunch of scratched lines on it, then you kind of soak it up with a little bit of thinner. And so it doesn't matter if you guys are doing a motorcycle frame or your son's wagon or whatever, and maybe you don't have a blaster period. We have one, but I'm not going to. I've blasted these frames before, lots of times, and it takes a long time just because you got to get all the way around all the surfaces, and I don't feel like setting all that up to do it, and I think I can probably clean it probably quicker than I can actually blast it. But I just thought I'd show you some tricks to doing that. So if you scratch up that paint and then you soak it down with some thinner, acetone, I use paint thinner, but or if you got paint stripper, just make sure you're working somewhere where you're not gonna gash yourself. But anyway, I thought I would show a quick trick on that because then it'll clean up the frame kind of like this. After I will show you, I sometimes take Scotch-Brite like this. I'll dip it in the thinner too, and then I'll go over and scrub it some more, and it gets any little kernels off. It starts working if there's any little rust pits on there. And then after, sometimes, not if you're going to paint it right away, but if you're trying to preserve it, we'll spray it with WD-40 or some oil too. But this way you can scrub it off even a little bit cleaner and get it all cleaned up so that you can prep it for some paint. I might even take a little bit of chorus paper after I've hit it with a little bit of thinner, because it kind of softens up that paint a little bit, and it'll kind of chew it right off after that. It comes off in big flakes. So and this is like just an old used piece of like 40 grit or something. You just got to remember it does make some little scratches in it. So, but usually you're going to prime or something before you paint. So it'll make it a lot easier in trying to sand it all down. So I just thought I'd give you guys a quick lowdown on what I do that might speed up your process of the project you're doing. This is a front engine dragster project, but same idea. If you're doing a motorcycle, bicycle, wheelbarrow, wagon. So yeah, okay, hope that helps somebody. And we'll be back with the front engine dragster project, and gold be gone is what this start of it is, I guess, here. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye. Okay, I've been scrubbing, scraping, and cleaning up for a little bit. It's coming. It's actually not coming that bad. I just took a 20-minute sit down to have a break, but it's scraping up actually pretty good. So I'll be able to clean it all up. In here, probably it might take me, I don't know, probably several hours yet. And then, I don't know, I'll probably just start stripping the car right down. Then I'll go through the diff, and I'm really contemplating getting rid of that cage and sticking a new cage on it. So I probably should just bite the bullet and do it. I hated that cage when it got done. I was really disappointed with it years ago. So now's my time probably to make it the way it should have been years ago. And yeah, I think we'll end up with a Hilborn injected small block and build it pretty much kind of how it was. Pull the wheels, run 150 in the quarter, and run around 850s, 847 for time. So I think that's kind of the route we'll go. 8 3/4 Dodge in it and a Power Glide, and we'll build up. I could use this 406 over here in it and throw a fuel injection on it, or I could start with another 350. I'm not sure yet, but what I am sure about is I've got to strip it right down, clean up some stuff I don't like on the chassis, re-weld some new tubes and stuff in it, just little guys like these. Somebody went and kind of did that. I'm not that impressed with them little tubes there, so I might cut them out and redo them. And yeah, so anyway, cleaning up the frame. I didn't know what I was doing today other than cleaning up the mess that I had here from yesterday, but I started getting that gold off and kind of couldn't quit. I don't know what, for whatever reason, the goldy color is really bugging me on it. So this one's got like silver on it. I don't mind it at all. I usually paint my chassis black, but the silver one looks really good. There's nothing wrong with it. But this gold one, it's maroon and gold, I'm not really a fan of, so it just really bugged me. So, and especially now that it's older and been touched in, it's just time for it to leave. So, but I thought I'd give you a quick view of the mess I'm making and what's happening. But it is cleaning up, and we'll keep scraping, and motor will probably exit here, maybe even this week. Who knows? We'll be back. I just thought I'd show you something I was doing here. I didn't have any paint stripper. Thinner is taking that off, but it takes a little bit. So what I started doing was dipping the rags in my paint thinner and then kind of wrapping them around the pipe, because otherwise the paint thinner dissolves too quick. That's where the paint stripper kind of stays moist for a while till it eats up the paint. This kind of, you got to keep rubbing it and it dissolves too quick, but you can see how clean I'm getting it. And when I pull them up, you'll see how wrinkled the paint is underneath. These are even old rags that had some thinner on them yet, so I was just leaving them sit on there, and you can see how it's wrinkling them up. So if it keeps them moist, it works better. So I'm just kind of wrapping them around, dipping them sheet by sheet, then I kind of wrap them around like that and let it just sit on there. And when I pull that off, it'll pretty well have all the paint all bubbled, and I'll just be able to wipe it off. Just so you can see like that there. Yeah. So if you're ever doing it at home, it might be a poor man's way to strip a little something if you're trying to strip it and not waste a whole bunch of thinner trying to do it. You want to be in a ventilated area because the stuff gives off a lot of fumes, and you don't want to be smoking around it. So just so you know, but yeah, I thought it was kind of neat, just the way it kind of taking the paint off. I can pretty well scratch some of that off now. You can see it moving. I'm digging my nails in through the paper, and you can kind of see it just coming right off. So it's softening it right up and doesn't dissolve as quick. So anyway, you can get the gist of it. Okay, thanks. Okay, we're back. It's Sunday morning. It's like we lost a little air, but you can see kind of what I did with the chassis. yesterday. Got a little more scraping done. Got the headers off. Yeah, cowl off, steering's out of there. Got a bunch more of the chassis kind of cleaned up. So I will keep cleaning that up. I don't know what I'm doing today. I want to get that motor and tranny out. So I've got to see about cleaning up some more of my mess here, putting some stuff away, and then I got to bring a hoist in here so I can hoist that thing out of there. So I don't know, thinking about it last night. I'm pretty sure this motor is going to end up in there. So I won't use them headers, I'll use zoomies. I'll change the valve covers so it looks more nostalgic. I was going to run a fuel injection, Hilborn and alcohol, but I don't know, I might have to try this one out. It's all set up. Ran 5.3s in the 8th. So if it did that in this car, I'm thinking it'll run 5.0s or 4.90s or something in the other car. I'm thinking it's gotta be, 300 or 400 pounds lighter. Don't ask me where, but that is one of the lightest little cars. Some would be in the diff. It's only an 8 3/4, although this is a 9-inch with an aluminum center section. It's got quite a bit bigger tire than that on it. Headers would weigh more. But I don't know, this car's weigh quite a bit more. Lots of guys wanted us to have this one weighed when we were racing back in the day, because we had to weigh 1,400 pounds with the driver. And they would yell they wanted weighed. Most of them were running big blocks and we were beating them with a small block. But the thing was legal. It was about 1,400 pounds with me in it. So yeah, it's one of the lightest cars I've ever owned. So I'm thinking it's gotta be lighter than this one. This one currently using Q16 race gas, so it'd run a lot cooler if I was running it on alcohol. So I either put alcohol carbs on it or I put an injection on it. It currently uses 2 radiators. They got one there and they got one there. I'm pretty sure I could still mount them, one right above each other, if I wanted to mount them kind of right in here on the chassis. This one did come with one rad, so thinking they had it in there somewhere. But I could mount one above each other, and that way I could probably keep the thing cool. I don't want the rad standing up. It takes away from the looks of the car. But yeah, I'm gonna throw the battery charger on this one, and I gotta set the valves because he backed off all the valves. So I gotta set the rockers. And then I definitely don't have any race fuel around right now, so we might just have to use a little bit of premium or something just to fire it up. But I'd like to fire it up in the next day or two and you guys could listen to it run. It's got about 14:1 compression. It should be pretty snappy. It'll make more horsepower than the motor I had in that car. It originally made 500 when we ran like 840 something down in Spokane, which is kind of sea level-ish. I think we ran maybe 870s in Edmonton at the time. This thing should definitely run quicker. I'm thinking it's got to make closer to 600 horse. So, and definitely makes more torque, a ton more torque. So I'll have to watch how I use that to keep the wheels down, because that thing, I just about flipped it over once. It will pop the wheels and hard. So if I leave a little bit softer, maybe I can carry the wheels and make it look good. But this should make quite a bit more torque and not much more horsepower. You know, we should be able to run some good times with it. So yeah, let's go from there, and then we'll see what we're going to per se borrow from this car to put in that car, and then yeah, we'll go from there. But follow along. I can't spend too much time here probably today, but I'll spend some time and see if I can't clean up some of my mess and charge that battery, and maybe see if I can set valves and get a little bit closer to getting some stuff done. Okay, I'll put you guys back on in a bit here, so we'll be back.